If you work nights. If you have ever been alone in a building that felt too quiet, do not finish this story. The hospital closed in 2013. Lisa had worked there for 9 years. She knew every corridor, every ward, every stairwell that groaned in the cold. She knew which rooms faced east and caught the morning light. She knew which ones never did. When the letter came, she almost did not open it. The new management company. Legal requirement before demolition. All former staff were being asked to return one final time to locate and remove sensitive patient files, medical records, old admission documents, things that could not simply be thrown away. Lisa volunteered. She did not know why exactly. The building had been part of her life for nearly a decade. Maybe she just wanted to say goodbye properly. They gave her a set of keys and a list of ward numbers. She would go in alone, 3 nights in a row, work through the filing rooms and the old ward storage and hand everything over to the records team in the morning. Simple enough. She was a nurse. She had spent 20 years in hospitals. Empty buildings did not scare her. That first night she brought a flask of coffee and a torch. She walked the ground floor slowly. Her footsteps echoed on the cold tile. The ceilings were high and dark. The paint was peeling in long strips, like skin after a burn. Every window was boarded. The air was cold. Not the cold of a building with no heating. A different cold, wet and heavy. The kind that settles in the chest and does not leave. She told herself it was just familiar. She told herself it only felt strange because it used to be full of noise and now it was not. She found the East Corridor ward at the far end of the ground floor. She had worked this ward in her second year, 12 beds in 2 rows. All still made, the sheets gray and stiff with age. Someone had never finished clearing this room. In the corner, a basin. Above it, a tap dripping slow and steady into the silence. She crossed the room and turned it off. The quiet after felt heavier than the drip. She checked the filing cabinet in the corner. Empty. Wrote it down. Moved on. She did not think about the ward again until the second night. The dripping brought her back. She heard it before she reached the corridor. The same slow rhythm, steady and patient, like something counting time. She pushed open the ward door and swept her torch across the room. 12 beds. All flat. All empty. She walked to the basin. Reached up to turn off the tap. Something touched her hand. Not a brush. Not the cold air. A grip. Tight and sudden, like fingers closing around her wrist from beneath. A burning sensation, immediate and sharp, spreading from the point of contact up toward her forearm. She pulled back hard and spun around. Nothing there. She stood completely still. Torch aimed at the space beside the basin. Nothing. The air was cold and silent. She told herself it was a muscle spasm. She told herself the cold did that sometimes, made the tendon seize. She was a nurse. She knew the body did strange things. She turned back to the tap and switched it off. It was only as she was leaving that she noticed the bed. The middle one on the left. The mattress was pressed down in the shape of something sitting on its edge. She stood in the doorway and looked at it for a long time. Then she left. In the car she turned on the overhead light and pushed up her sleeve. Her wrist. The exact spot where she had felt the grip. A bruise already forming. Not red. Not the fresh pink of a new knock. Purple and blue, deep in the skin, the kind of bruise that takes days to surface. The shape of it was wrong too. Not a smear. Not an impact mark. The shape of fingers. 4 of them, pressed into the soft inside of her wrist. She sat in the car for 20 minutes before she drove home. She did not tell anyone. She was a nurse. She had seen patients bruise from nothing. She told herself it meant nothing. She did not believe herself. The third night she brought a colleague. She did not tell him why. She said she wanted company. They walked the ground floor together, then split up to cover more ground. She took the East Corridor alone. She noticed on the walk over that she had been holding her breath. Her chest ached with it. She made herself breathe slowly. In through the nose, out through the mouth. The way she used to teach anxious patients. The irony of it was not lost on her. She pushed open the ward door. The torch beam moved across the rows of beds. She made herself go slowly. She did not want to look at the bed yet. She went to the basin first. The tap was already off. She had not touched it. She had not been in this room since the night before. She stood at the basin and looked at the dry tap and felt the cold air move against the back of her neck like breath. Slow. Deliberate. Like something standing close behind her, close enough to touch, choosing not to. Not yet. She turned around. The bed, the middle one on the left. The impression was not the shape of someone sitting anymore. It was the full length of a body. Head, shoulders, the press of legs down to the feet. Something had been lying there. Long enough to leave that depth. Long enough to make the old mattress remember the weight permanently. She could not move. Her torch flickered once. Just once. Then held. She looked down at her wrist. The bruise was there in the dark, invisible but present. She could feel it. A dull deep ache, the way old injuries remind you they happened. She counted the beds. 12 in 2 rows. She counted again because the number felt wrong. 13. Her colleague called her name from the far end of the hall. She walked out. She did not run. She was a nurse. She had learned a long time ago that panic helps nothing. But her hands, she noticed when she reached the corridor, were shaking. She had not felt them shaking. She had felt completely calm. She handed in her notice the next morning. Told the records team she had cleared everything she could find. They thanked her and did not ask questions. 3 weeks later she read the article. The demolition company had suspended the project. One of the workers had been hospitalized. Severe psychological distress. He had been working alone in the East Wing when he found something in one of the old ward rooms. The article did not say what. She called the management office. A woman answered, quiet and careful with her words. Lisa asked what the worker had found. There was a long pause. A patient file, the woman said finally. Left in the ward. For one of the original patients. A woman admitted in 1987. Never discharged. Never transferred. Never recorded as deceased. Lisa said nothing for a moment. In her second year she had worked that ward. She had known those patients. She tried to think of a woman who had simply disappeared from the records without explanation. A face with no ending attached to it. She asked which room. East corridor. Middle ward. She asked the bed number. The woman's voice dropped when she answered. Bed 6. Middle of the left row. Lisa hung up. She sat at her kitchen table for a long time. She thought about the dripping tap that turned itself off. The cold air that moved like breath. The mattress that remembered a weight that had never left. 11 years in an empty building. Waiting in that ward. In that bed. Getting up each night to stand at the basin. Sitting on the edge of the mattress in the dark. And then someone came back. Someone who had worked that ward. Someone she might have recognized. And on the second night, she reached out. Lisa looked down at her wrist. The bruise had not faded. 18 days and it was still there. Still purple. Still the shape of 4 fingers pressed into the soft inside of her wrist. Bruises fade. That is what they do. That is what she had told patients for 20 years. 3 nights ago she woke up at 3 a.m. She does not know what woke her. She lay still in the dark and stared at the ceiling. Then slowly, without meaning to, she turned and looked toward the foot of her bed. She does not know what she was expecting to see. She does not know if she is relieved that she saw nothing. The bruise on her wrist was warm when she touched it. It had not been warm before. If something has been following her since that building, you already know. Subscribe and tell me in the comments. When she felt that grip at the basin, what do you think was holding her? Was it trying to stop her from leaving, or was it making sure she would come back?